thank you so much for that introduction. I think one of the things for me is frustrating as we're listening to the debate. Now we're having the debate on the media and the television and the radio. Are they talking about all these technical terms? And today Corbyn is saying, oh, that's what we're going to be having is a single market, and we're going to have all these demands and the rest of it. Technical terms go right over the top of most people. Ask the man in the street what's the difference between the single market and the customs union. They don't understand, and it's a bit like, oh, you experts are talking. So I think what we have to do, because we know in this room, you wouldn't be here if you didn't think that it certainly is not worth it. So actually start thinking about how are we going to talk to people who don't understand those technical terms. High Wycombe here, and I know most of you here will have been key to that, narrowly voted to remain. And you know, it was such a difficult campaign. Not only did the Remain campaign not really get a head of steam under it, but as somebody has already said to this afternoon, we have had 40 years of lies and misinformation and scapegoating for all the benefits that the European Union has brought to us. This idea that the judges are the enemies of the people, that the experts are not experts and we shouldn't listen to experts. And it takes us right back to the 30s when you start scapegoating the other and the people who can't come back. And that, I think, for me, not only is it heartbreaking that we are down this mad path, but what has happened to our country? Is it only 6 years since in 2012 when we held the Olympics and the country was open and joyful and we welcomed foreigners here and we celebrated running, jumping and doing all the Olympics together with a whole family of nations. And somehow we've turned on a pin and become this country that I don't recognise, and that 3 million plus are having to bear the brunt day in, day out. And I tell you, buy the book, but read it in small chunks, because it'll have you weeping, because there's some of the stories there. And I know in the Parliament, a lot of the work that we are doing when it comes to the Brexit negotiations are defending the rights of the citizens, because that is what the Parliament is there for. We are elected by the citizens, for the citizens. The governments sit in the council. I'm not a representative of my government. I sit there for the citizens. And we are working, and I work with Guy Verhofstadt, and it is the citizens that we are most concerned about, because there are a lot of people ticking the boxes, yes, that's been done. It has not been done for the citizens. They are losing rights that they were, many of them, born with or have been granted at the stroke of a pen. Now it's nice this afternoon to be inside, because earlier on we were in Oxford and we were outside, and the Arctic breeze that was blowing through is nothing compared to the Arctic breeze that is going to blow through our economy at Brexit. Ray, we've just heard some stories about how it's going to be difficult. You forgot to mention the fact that there are not enough lorries in Europe. I was told this by an exporter, and especially the Irish haulage businesses. There are not enough lorries to queue up and have 20-mile queues either side of Dover and Calais. The just-in-time deliveries in Helsinki and Lisbon are now seriously going to be in trouble if we have that border at Calais. Also, I met this week with representatives from Fiji, from Kenya, from Uganda, from the Caribbean, who are desperately worried. This is not a negotiation between two parties, the UK government and the EU. This is worldwide trade, which is based on carefully constructed tariffs and quotas. And the quotas for the whole of the EU are going to be so distorted if the UK leaves, that Fijian sugar will then be competing with Belize sugar, which they haven't been doing for years, and we will start to see trade wars in the WTO. So when we're talking about, you know, who is going to have a say on whatever conservative, this right-wing bunch of conservatives that have taken over the Tory party are driving this crazy negotiation, non-negotiation, because they haven't actually decided what they want yet. I think, you know, last week they had to lock them in a room in Chequers that said, you've got to come up with a plan. Interesting, isn't it, that the Leavers told us that they had a plan before the vote, and then it became immediately clear that Boris had no plan, Farage had no plan, Hannan had no plan. None of them knew quite what was going to happen, and they have misled the public on so many things. So when we finally get that deal, I will get a vote in the European Parliament on the deal. The MPs in Westminster will get a vote. And by the way, we have to have that deal by October for the European Parliament. October's not very far away. The MPs will have a vote. Half the governments in the remaining part of the European Union will have a vote. There will be votes in the WTO, all these other nations who are now worried about the trade distortions that the UK leaving the